The following is a presentation of the BellyUpSports Media Network.
The ball sends it over to Edward Robles. Goal! Insert name FC! Let's go! Insert name FC!
What is up, everybody? My name is Hector Flores, host of the Insert Name FC podcast, a member of the BellyUpSports Media Network. You can find us on all things podcasting at Spotify, Pandora, Apple. I don't even know if Pandora's a thing anymore. But wherever you get your podcast fix on, you'll find us right there for you. Just check us out, Insert Name FC. Follow us on social media, on Instagram and X at InsertNameFC, and on TikTok at insert.name.fc, where you'll see posts from a lot of things that we record, and we also post clips from these episodes to help gather some audiences from it. Also, man, we're on YouTube. You can find short form videos from these episodes on there, so it's easier to be more digested on YouTube at Insert Name FC. And if you check us out at GolzTV, GolzTV is an amazing streaming service. It is free right now. It is free right now to join GolzTV. It is amazing. It has a soccer content from all across America. Content creators, amazing creators, man, that I really love supporting. You'll find me there on some of their original programming, like Wake Up MLS, Yanks on the Roundtable whenever I have time. But great stuff over there at GolzTV, so go ahead. It's always a good time over there, man. Go check it out, GolzTV. Yeah, man. So this episode, I just want to put a quick apology. So last episode, if you guys didn't try to listen to it fully, I hope you guys did. The introduction, I don't know what the hell happened there, but apparently the introduction from it was from the previous episode. So I'm sure that threw a lot of people off, but the rest of the episode was the new episode, 185. So in case that you guys like, oh, wait, this is bad. No, it continued on. Don't know what happened there. I was pretty sure that I edited the episode correctly. I don't know what happened. I seriously do not know. That's on me. Next time I'm going to do a little bit better on that one. But yeah, man, crazy, very eventful week, man. Very eventful week. Obviously, rest in peace, James Earl Jones, an amazing actor, iconic voice. I mean, the man was the voice of Darth Vader. He was the King of Zamunda, and I think he's a good chunk of a lot of generations' memories. Obviously, like I said, he was the King of Zamunda and Coming to America. Iconic role, one of my favorite movies of all time to just sit back and watch. Very old movie, but I still love to watch it to this day. He was fucking Darth Vader. I'm a Star Wars nerd, and even though I don't necessarily like where Disney has taken Star Wars, but I still love Star Wars. And obviously, he was the greatest villain, in my opinion, of all time in Darth Vader. And of course, my first introduction to James Earl Jones was as Mufasa, the Lion King. So a good chunk of just a lot of good memories with James Earl Jones. The Sandlot, one of my favorite movies to watch. I actually watched The Sandlot, once when they announced his passing. Just even though like he's at the end of the movie, but it's still a moment that I remember of James Earl Jones. But just an amazing actor, man, iconic voice, everything that probably everyone has said. Man, that it definitely hurt. But he's 93, man. That's a full life, an amazing life. So, and you know what? If you have money, the beauty of what he was able to provide in media, obviously, is you can just sit back, watch Star Wars. You can watch The Lion King. You could still be able to have that bit of James Earl Jones because of the legacy that he has left, which is amazing roles. And of course, that amazing commercial where he said, "Toast my goats." That's always great. But yeah, rest in peace, James Earl Jones. What a life. Um, Baseball is life. That's one of my favorite lines that he had. But yes. Oh, and then obviously in Field of Dreams too. But yes, amazing, amazing, amazing. Also, talking about people that uh talking about, things that that I grew up in. Obviously, if you guys, depending on music taste, but I think that the 2000s, late 90s was definitely a big rise for rock music, especially in the alternative genre. And Linkin Park, a band that I definitely will say is up there for one of my favorite bands. Obviously, if you guys know me personally, you guys know Avenged Sevenfold is my favorite band of all time. But Linkin Park, man, was such a unique band. Like it was one of those where it has a good mix of rap and hip and rock, and so it was really cool. Obviously, I was kind of, my introduction to them was like Crawling, which is a Hybrid Theory, and then Meteora, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. Um, a great band. And obviously, 2017. If you guys don't know, Chester Bennington, the lead singer of the band, he ended up passing away. He committed suicide, and yeah, I mean, I'm not one of those people that like. First of all, I never, I don't know these people. I just knew them because of the band, right? But you build the connection because of the music, right? And I think, Linkin Park's music was a lot of, especially when you're talking about, the coming of age, right? Where, um, you feel that you're alone, that sense of feeling, and I think that that's one of the things that the emotion that came from Chester's voice was what stemmed a lot of people, the way he screamed, the way he had that rawness to his voice. Um, Numb, probably one of the most well-known songs, definitely tugs a lot of chords to a lot of people. Uh, Crawling, and then as you learn about Chester's life, things that he went through, you can kind of hear it through the songs that they had. But obviously, unfortunately, in 2017, he passed away. And Linkin Park, um, I believe they still did shows. They usually had like someone come in as a guest to perform the songs as a singer. And I mean, all good, but as far as making new music, like the only thing of like, oh, this is new Linkin Park was when they started bringing out songs that they didn't uh there was a good brief time, I think I want to say last year, where everybody's like, hey, we're gonna send you guys songs that we never dropped, and we're gonna drop them now. So it was like, oh, you can hear Chester Bennington's voice one more time in this new song. I mean, even the Beatles did it, which was a really interesting song that I heard, and it was very emotional actually, for me. But going back to it, so Linkin Park ends up announcing that uh, did like a weird announcement. They had like a timer going on, and essentially it was to announce their new lead singer, and everyone was intrigued. They did a live concert. Also was able to be was it was streamed as well, and they introduced their new lead singer, which is Emily Armstrong. Um, Mark, if you know anything about her, she's the lead singer for Dead Sarah. I don't know anything about that band. I just know that it's a woman lead singer, which I thought was an interesting approach for Linkin Park. I don't necessarily. The thing is, it's like it's one of those things where Linkin Park was damned if they do and damned if they don't. If they if they chose a woman lead singer, they would still have gotten the same criticism. If they chose a male lead singer, they would have still had the same criticism, because at the end of the day, it's not Chester Bennington. And I don't think, and this is not them replacing Chester Bennington, because Chester Bennington is no longer among us. He like I said, he unfortunately passed away. Um, but this is, and I think this is like, some people are saying this is like the millennials' first taste of a band, having to bring in a different artist in, adding someone, new person to a band. And I mean, especially if you think of like the old rock back in the day, people complain about Van Halen when they were like, it's not Van Halen, it's Van Hagar. Motley Crue when they changed lead singers for a bit. It's one of those things that just happens with bands. Like they're gonna split up, they're gonna add new people. Those new people, Journey that has has had a different lead singer for quite some time. I have never really heard many people complain about it. AC/DC had a different lead singer at one point. It's one of those things that it's just like it kind of happens. It's just the business of music. 3 Days Grace. Their lead singer, he stepped away and they brought in another lead singer. And I think now it's more so different now because social media is so prevalent now, so people can voice their opinions more. But Emily Armstrong, I got to see some bits of the live show. Um, I think when they start playing like the new music, which they also announced their new album, which I think is going to be really interesting. I heard the new their single. I love it. I love it. To me, that's Linkin Park. That's a Linkin Park song, to the T. And I think Emily performed very well with that song. Now, and some people were like, "Oh, don't play the hit. You can't play the hits." They're gonna have to play the hits. Like you're not gonna go to a Linkin Park concert not to hear "Crawling" or "Somewhere I Belong." You want to hear them sing the hits. Like and I think that was kind of one of the problems because Emily, while I think she had some good moments singing some of the older Linkin Park songs, there was some moments where I think she's still trying to find her range. So some of them felt a little forced, some felt could have been stronger, could have been, better. So I think that's just her trial and error where she has to kind of find how she is going to hit what Chester hit in her own way. I still think she's a very good singer. I liked her voice. I think I think choosing Emily was there's controversy behind it, right? Because everyone's and I don't want to get into it, but obviously Emily Armstrong has ties to Scientology, which frankly I personally don't give a shit about. I'm not saying like as if whatever they represent, like I'm not saying I don't care. Religion has never been something that I judge people off of. Being that I'm a theist, not atheist, a theist. I don't know what the other term is, but I believe in God. Okay, I believe in God. I'm not a fan of religion. So I don't really judge people off of their religion choices. I understand people believe what they believe for a reason, and I think she was born into Scientology. So I mean, that's the same thing as people being born into the Catholic family, born into Christian family, born into a Muslim family. That's how your family raised you. That's how your family raised you. And I'm also not going to judge someone on how they were brought up. And then the big one that everyone was complaining about was that she was, as far as we know, was supporting Danny Masterson. If you guys don't know about Danny Masterson, he played Hyde in That 70s Show, and he got hit with some allegations. He was found guilty for sexual assault. I don't know about the other words, but I know that's for a fact that's what happened. And he's also Scientologist. That's the connection between him and Emily. She apparently was at the court hearings, in support of him. She did release a statement. Take that for what you want, but she did release a statement saying that she was there to support a friend. And then when she realized what exactly was going on and what she heard from the stories, she was like, "Yeah, no, I can't affiliate myself with this." Whether you agree with her or not, she got in front of it. She made a statement. But and look, I'm not gonna say I'm one of those people that can separate the art from the artist. I mean, the person from the artist. Because I like to say I could, but there are certain things that I just can't tolerate. Now, Emily Armstrong, I don't care too much for, like, I think that I'm speaking as someone that has had friends that have done very not good things. I tried to give them the benefit of doubt, and obviously it turned out to be the wrong choice, and I've cut ties with people for that reason before. So it's not. I think that's a very human thing. You want to stand by that person until proven guilty. Um, and then at that point you challenge yourself on how you want to approach it. And I think that even people that stand by people's side wanting to help people to get better, and which is honestly is a very Christian thing to do, is to always is to try to help people out, despite of what people claim them to be. But and I think that's generally a human thing. I understand some people do some really terrible things, and there is those moments where I do draw that line. But I know there's other things that I'm like, I'm not gonna try to dig myself into a further hole here, but so I don't really care. It's just the Scientology thing. I really don't care about it. Regardless of what everyone views of the cult of Scientology is and all that. I just don't have a voice. I don't know enough about Scientology to really talk about it. But like I said, I don't necessarily judge people off of their religion, just in general, because there's a lot of flaws in a lot of religions, man. People talking about, from what I've heard, people were saying about Scientology, about sexual assault and all that things, and I'm like, well. It's not like all the other religions don't have those kind of scandals as well. So I mean that's where I'm going off. Not every religion is perfect. Not every person is perfect, in that aspect. So that's why I'm not trying to judge the religion, because it's not the religion's fault per se. But if there just happens to be people that do it, yes, it's a bad representation for that religion. But at the same time, a lot of religions do it. A lot of religions have those black sheeps, if you will. But beside that, I think a lot of people being outraged uh, for a band that, they're like, oh, they're just doing it for money. Well, no, no shit. No fucking shit. They're doing it for money. What, what are they like that? This is their job, like, people forget that whenever someone wants to be a musician, they get shat on a lot because musicians in reality don't make a lot of money. Because it's one of those, you just gotta find your opportunity. It's a grind being a musician if you're trying to make it, right. And so Linkin Park, they went through the grind, and mind you, Chester was not the original lead singer of Linkin Park, but obviously he's the reason where Linkin Park is now. But he's one of the reasons why Linkin Park is where they are now. But I think but it's a grind. You don't know if your song's going to be a hit or not. You don't know the song that you wrote is about to become a radio hit. You don't know these things. You just go off of faith that maybe it's going to happen. And Linkin Park, being one of the biggest bands, at least of my generation, I think it is very fair to say that, like, why would they start over? Why would they go through the process of grinding out, recording in recording studios are super sketchy. Those days of like going to like these small shows, carrying your equipment, or, like, the grind is one thing, and maybe they thought about it, but it is their band as well. And so I think that, like, people need to chill out. You're talking about an other person's business choices. I'm sure they thought long and hard about what they wanted to do after Chester's passing. And I mean, they heard Emily, they were like, hey, this is our person. This is our singer. And I mean, I think that, and if you don't like it, then just don't go. And I mean, I think it's funny because a lot of people all of a sudden are like diehard Linkin Park fans, when I know for a fact that, like, people after Minutes to Midnight, the album that had, What I've Done, the one that got into Transformers, a lot of people, like, really didn't care to keep listening uh to to Linkin Park, because then after that every album was like, oh, this isn't Linkin Park, this is something else. So actually, as a matter of fact, now that, like, I think about it now, the fact people are complaining that this isn't Linkin Park, that just tells me that Linkin Park's back. Because the music that followed Minutes to Midnight, people were really shitting on it. I don't think there was not a lot of people that talked about Linkin Park like this. Like, this is probably the most I've talked about Linkin Park in a long time, because not that I've moved away from Linkin Park. Like, if it plays on my playlist, like on my shuffle, plenty of times, and it gives me a memory of back in the day, and all that. But and I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I'm like the biggest Linkin Park fan ever. I love Linkin Park. I think they're a great band. Like I said, their music has definitely hit me, has touched some nerve strings for me. Um, and it's always gonna be a big part of my upbringing. But it's also just, I won't sit here. I told they're not my number one band. Obviously, it's Avenged Sevenfold, but they're definitely a big part of my upbringing, and I think that's what it is for a lot of people. But like, if you really want to hear Chester Bennington's voice again, just play the old albums. You don't have to listen to the new album that drops. I'm gonna, cause I did like their newer, the newer stuff that Linkin Park did. Like I liked, One More Light, Halfway Right is actually one that I like jamming to a lot, from their pop album that people complained about too. And I think, yeah, I think we just let it be, man. Yeah, speaking of the Beatles, but yeah, I probably went way too long talking about Linkin Park, but I just, sometimes you gotta let it out, right? You gotta let it out. But yeah. This episode, man, we have some football talk. We have overreactions, obviously. It's international break, so take it with a grain of salt. We have Victor Osimhen making his move to Galatasaray. We talk about that. We talk about Alex Morgan's retirement. Congratulations, Alex Morgan, for an amazing football career. We'll talk about that as well. Moussa from Mo Football TV is finally back. I am so happy that we brought him. We were finally able to get him back on the podcast, man. He's a great person to talk to. I do get to talk to him a few times over at GolzTV. So awesome friend, awesome guy. I'll call him a friend, but great guy, just a great guy to talk to. He's here to talk about the Ballon d'Or, and we're going to talk about the Champions League the new Champions League, preview the Champions League, get you guys get in the know of how Champions League works this year. And then we'll go no players of the week. So new rule now, we're not going to count international break for players of the week, just for obvious reasons, but that's going to be the new rule that we're having for the podcast. And yeah, and then we'll give you some games to highlight and then wrap this show with 3 up, 3 down, the Bundesliga kits. So we're on to the Bundesliga, and yeah, that's all I got, man. This episode should be a really fun one. I can't wait. Moussa from Mo Football is with us, so get ready for that, man. So we'll take a break and then go right into overreactions.
Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of BellyUpSports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at RighteousFelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky.
All right, guys. As far as overreactions go, I think we're not going to do any overreactions this week. Obviously the internet. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. Overreaction. I get it, man. I get people don't like the international break, especially when we just started the season here in Europe. But I mean, I think this is kind of why we have the Nations League, right? I know some people don't care too much about the Nations League, and I'm also one of those people. Unless my team's in the final, then I'm gonna rub it in on Mexico's face. But I think that was kind of the reason why the international break has become this. I think it has its perks, right? And I know right now as a U.S. men's national team fan, kind of hard to like it, right? Because of how things turned out in the Canada-USA game, where Canada got their first win in the U.S. Since last time they won was like 1957 or something like that. Don't quote me. But to me, still though, I like. To me, it still has its purpose. It's still, the international break still serves what it's supposed to serve. And I think, obviously, if these national teams were to use it in the way I think it is, I mean, obviously now we have Nations League, so there's like some sort of trophy at stake for some of these countries. Obviously, specifically Europe and and CONCACAF. I can't say the same for Africa, but I believe Africa is doing qualifiers for AFCON already, or World Cup qualifiers. One of those. It might be World Cup qualifiers, actually, to be honest. But I think it's a good thing to continue having. It's something that we know that's routine, and I think that that's a good thing. I know it takes a break, takes a pause from the season play, and obviously the season has been pretty fun so far. There's lots of things that are being talked about, but I think that still at the end of the day, we still need to have some sort of structure, and I think the international break still does it. Now, the purpose that I think needs to be utilized for is to test out the players those players that are not necessarily like solid guaranteed guys that are going to be playing, that's where my thought process comes from. I think it's a prime opportunity to test those guys out. I think for the US, we got to see Schulte be the starting goalkeeper, right? I think that was an interesting thing to test out for the US. I think those are where I think it's the purpose for, is to test out those fringe players, those guys that don't necessarily you're not certain that those guys are going to be guys to fit, but I think the guys that you're 100% set that those guys are going to be on the squad, I think you can afford to rest them. I mean, still have some sort of continuity and feature some of the guys from the regular roster in these nations, but at the same time, you can probably, hey, Jude Bellingham, take a weekend off. This is the weekend. This is the month that we're not going to call you up. Rest up. Things like that, right? But I still think international break still serves a purpose. I still love watching international football, and I'm not going to change my stance on liking international football. I think that it's it is the way that I started liking this game. As a kid, I didn't necessarily know too much about club football. I knew more about the World Cup and international stuff. And that was just me being a kid. So my whole time, I just thought you played for your country. I didn't know about clubs. It wasn't until the 2002 World Cup where I started learning about players and I started learning the leagues that they play in. And that's how I ended up. And then at that time, that's when I discovered that El Fenomeno Ronaldo played for Real Madrid, and that's how I became a Real Madrid fan. So I think internationally, it still has its importance, right? And I know the tournaments are what matters more, but I still think in getting your roster correct, especially when aiming for the goal is to get ready for the summer, for any tournament that's happening. Obviously, the big focus right now is still the World Cup. But obviously, where UEFA and both CONCACAF have the Nations League to prepare for, and like I said, I think Africa either is doing AFCON qualifiers or they're doing World Cup qualifiers. But also, World Cup qualifiers is a thing. As a matter of fact, that's what Futbol is doing. So I think that it's not necessarily a pointless international break. Now, if it was friendlies, definitely test out the field, test out those guys that you're not totally sure yet if they should be on your regular lineup for a friendly. But if we're talking about Nations League, we're talking about World Cup qualifiers, we're talking about AFCON qualifiers, those kind of things, I think those matches matter. So you want to put your best 11 out there on the field. But when it comes to a friendly, I would argue that yes, that's where you don't necessarily have to bring out your star players because you know what your star players can do. And so I'm fine with that. And but that's my stance right now on the whole matter of where international break. I like the international break, and I maybe a hot take, maybe it's an unpopular opinion, but I actually like the international break, and I feel like it's something that's needed. It's fine to have the international break. There's nothing, it doesn't ruin anything. It doesn't ruin the momentum. I get that we just came off of a summer of international tournaments, but for me, it's still fine. So that's where I stand at. So that's my overreaction. Like, cool your engines with the hate of international break, because I'm all for it. But all right, headlines, man. All right, first things up, Victor Osimhen. So Victor Osimhen, exciting Nigerian player, was playing in Napoli at the time. Well, he did get sent to Galatasaray on a loan. Victor Osimhen was a big talking point this summer, being one of the big names to go to a bigger opportunity. Obviously was a crucial piece for Napoli for their run to win the Serie A. But, this summer, obviously now with Antonio Conte taking over Napoli, I'm guessing that he just doesn't feel that this is his guy. And the rumors were very strongly specifically towards Chelsea, that Chelsea was going to be the destination for Victor Osimhen, which honestly makes a lot of sense for Chelsea to just make sure that he doesn't wear the number 9 because that's a cursed number. But the other rumors was going to Al Ahly, which is in the Saudi Pro League. So there was some Saudi Arabia rumors as well for Victor Osimhen, which, I mean, hey, get that bag if you can, you know what I mean? But I was just thought he was slated for a move. I thought it was crazy that Antonio Conte doesn't want him, but I thought that this was a guy that was slated for a move. Whether it was to be at Chelsea or whether it was to go to any league just to make him, for him to take his next step in his career. But it didn't happen. But Antonio Conte does prefer Romelu Lukaku. And he was joining. As a matter of fact, they gave him the number 9. I believe he wears number 9 for Napoli. He wears 11. But, essentially that's Antonio Conte's guy. And I think because of that, Napoli wanted to, and I think this is also kind of their response for all the rumors towards Victor Osimhen. But nothing came from it. But now it's happened. He's going to Galatasaray, which for me, and this is just my opinion, and maybe I'm rating Victor Osimhen a little too highly. Maybe I'm not. But it is a little bit deflating to me that he goes to Galatasaray. I feel like that's not the right trajectory to go to. I think he needs to. I wouldn't want him to go to the Saudi Pro League, but obviously, we know the motivation for why players go there. It's the money. But if he's gonna go somewhere, I want somewhere where he's gonna take his talents to the next level. And Chelsea, as interesting as that would have been, was one of those moves that I think could have happened. Either that or going to a Premier League team, going to La Liga, going anywhere. But it didn't happen. He's still in a very good age. He still hasn't hit his prime yet as a striker. And I mean, yes, it's a loan to Galatasaray, right? It's just a loan, but maybe he gets his big move somewhere else. But to me, my expectations for him right now, if he going to Galatasaray, is that he should be balling out there. And maybe I'm taking jabs at the Turkish Super League, but I don't think I am either, because I think Victor Osimhen is quality. And I mean, I do feel like a lot of goal scoring happens in that league. So, I mean, if anything, it's in favor of Osimhen, because I mean, obviously it's a place where I'm guessing Galatasaray is very much wanting him. It's a place where is going to play him, and I guess that there's that benefit to him. So I mean, he's going to play. Maybe he has another standout year at Galatasaray. And then now he's, once he comes back on his loan, either Antonio Conte is like, my bad, keep playing for us, or a big club goes after him, and we'll see what happens there. So right now, I'm not loving the move. I expect him to do well, but we'll see how it goes, man. But I'm still rooting for Victor Osimhen. I really rate him very well, very highly. I did say, if Mbappe didn't happen for Real Madrid, I think Victor Osimhen would have been a perfect fit for Real Madrid. But that's where we are now in this world. So there's Victor Osimhen going to Galatasaray. See how that pans out for him. All right. Big news that happened. Alex Morgan announces her retirement from football. She is going to retire. Right now it is, I'm recording this on Sunday, September 8th. She's playing her final match today as I'm recording this. By the time this episode drops, it has already been played. So this is the last time we'll ever see Alex Morgan playing football again. And so if you guys are unaware, she posted on social media of revealing that she is pregnant once again. And from that, she has decided that it is time for her to step away from football completely. Obviously, if she's pregnant, she's going to have to take off for her pregnancy. And I think where she's at in her career it's probably the right time. So from what I'm feeling from it, I think one, she sees the writing in the wall. And I'm not saying that the pregnancy means it's game over, but I think I think that where Alex Morgan is now in her career is just she has nothing left to prove. She has completely nothing left to prove. She has done it all in my eyes. Obviously multiple World Cup champion, multiple gold medalists. She is definitely a huge part of the U.S. women's national team's successful era, of a lot from the World Cups to the equal pay rights, even being a very helpful ally in what a lot of the issues that has been going on with the NWSL, with some of the inappropriateness that has been conducted in the league. It's not perfect yet, but she definitely has been a big help to that cause. And I think where she's at in her career, I think as far as the U.S. women's national team, she's definitely been at a more reduced role now. And I think that's not necessarily to her fault. I think it's just now we're seeing this rise, right, of Sophie Smith, of Mallory Swanson, and Trinity Rodman, right? Like this was the front three that was amazing during the Olympics, and we're still kind of finding their groove in the World Cup. But I mean that front three is disgusting. It's scary, and so I think where it is now, it's a perfect way for her to just step away. She doesn't have to be the star anymore for the U.S. women's national team because, like I mentioned, Sophie Smith, Swanson, and Rodman, that's the front three. That's the trident right now. And that's not going away anytime soon. They're still they're not even in their prime yet. And that's amazing to me. And so I think with that, all that she's done in the U.S. shirt, it's perfect. She doesn't have to do anything in the NWSL this year. I think that she got her clarity. She has her perspective that there's nothing left for her to prove. And I think that is, in some sense, that could be a beautiful thing. She's not going to be able to finish the season, obviously, as she continues to, as she goes through pregnancy, it's just, there's going to be a point where she's not going to be able to play. But like I said, as of right now, as I'm recording this, they're playing that match. As soon as she announced her retirement, they were like, we need to put this on front and center for all eyes to be able to watch. So good job on everybody on trying to get this matchup specifically in the public's eye, to be able to say goodbye to one of the, I would honestly say, a legend of U.S. women's national team, alongside the names of Carly Lloyd and Megan Rapinoe and Hope Solo. I mean, if you guys haven't watched the Hope Solo documentary, by the way, I really recommend watching it. Very, 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 very spicy. I might rewatch it. I'm not gonna lie to you. But yeah, it was a really good documentary. But that's not the point. But yes, a legend of the game, true legend of this game, and I think that, like I said, I think she's leaving it in the best hands with Smith, Swanson, and Rodman. I don't think that there's anything that she needs to prove. I think she can enjoy retirement knowing she's done her best, and now she gets to enjoy motherhood. So, like I said, as we're speaking right now, the match is currently being played. North Carolina is right now beating them 3-1. San Diego is actually down a player because of a red card in the 60th minute. So, yeah, not the prettiest ways to go out. But that's not the point. It's not the point. It's at the end of the day, this is the last time we're going to see Alex Morgan playing the game, and I think, like I said, it's a beautiful send off. I don't think San Diego is necessarily in a position to make the playoffs. So, and I'm not saying that as a way to, like, maybe that justifies anything, but I think, like I said, where she's at in her career, there's nothing left to prove. She's got a solid career ahead of her. She's completed a great career, and I wish her nothing but the best. And congratulations to having to your pregnancy as well. So thank you so much, legend. Thank you for all the great memories. The tea celebration is still my favorite to this day. But yeah, what a legend at the end of the day. Alex Morgan, thank you. All right, guys. So we're going to go ahead and segue over to our discussion of the 2024 Ballon d'Or with Moussa from Futbol TV. All right, guys, we got a special guest with us. Ever since we've had him for AFCON, man, I've just wanted this guy back at some point, and now we finally got him back. It is Moussa from Futbol TV. Moussa, my friend, I'm glad you're back here.
Thanks for having me. It's been a while. We've talked everything else, but I'm on this one, so I look forward to it.
Yeah, man, it's been announced. The nominee, the 30 nominees. I don't know why they do 30. Like, I get it to build suspense and everything, but you look at the list and you're like, okay, that guy's not gonna do it. But I mean, like, I get that, obviously the nominees are the nominees, but still, it's one of the most exciting times is when you get this list of players. And the 2024, I think, was probably the most insane year where literally anybody can get it.
Yep.
And also, I guess the other thing to mention before we throw out the names, no Messi, no Ronaldo. Is this Moussa, from your perspective, is this the end of the era of Messi and Ronaldo?
Yeah, there's not much. Unless they decide to throw a monkey wrench and says that if Messi, for anything happens to win anything else left possible, and they decide to throw a monkey wrench at it because of the World Cup coming up. But other than that, Ronaldo is pretty much long gone. That's not even the discussion. But the era of those two, it's over for. Unfortunately, it's over.
Yeah, and by the way, congratulations, Ronaldo, for 900 career goals.
Yes,
that's a high feat. I mean,
oh yeah,
it's a lot of goals.
Yes. Yeah, the way he presented it may have not gone the best way, but yes, 900 goals is impressive.
Hey man, he's got his YouTube channel. It's he's got a lot of things going for him, man.
Oh yes.
But like I said, 2024 was insane, right? You had AFCON was this year. That completely passed me up. It feels like an eternity since I had you here. But yeah, AFCON happened, right? You had Premier League, obviously Man City, another dominant year for them. Champions League, the Euro, Copa America. I mean, I don't think the Olympics would count, but I mean, if you want to throw that into the whole thing, why not? It was just a big, and this is obviously now they're going off of the season, correct? No longer the year.
Yep.
So based off the season, this is going to be an insane Ballon d'Or. And I think how crucial were those tournaments, in your opinion, in deciding not necessarily just the winner, but just who was nominated for this award?
I would say yes. I think the biggest difference for a lot of the nominees now this year is that a lot of them are like key players to their national teams, but they weren't like the guy for their national team. Like when we were talking, Ronaldo was Ronaldo in Portugal. When it was Messi, it was Argentina in Mexico. In Argentina. So it's one of those places where the names we have now were crucial to the teams, but they weren't like, if they were on the bench, the team was just going to be in disarray.
Mm-hmm.
So I think so now these crop of players will pretty much determine the rest of their career, and if they have another chance to win another Ballon d'Or after this one.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be where we're not having 7-time, 9-time. We're not going to have like a consecutive winner. I think that this is going to be where back to the days where we saw like multiple winners, not just the same two guys. And I even a lot of people try to say Mbappe and Haaland's going to be the next Messi and Ronaldo, and I don't know. I don't think it is anymore. Especially when you see the crop of players that are coming out. I mean, who would have thought Lamine Yamal would do what he did at 16 years old? So
Yes.
I love the future of this game is going at. It's insane how this game has evolved, and I'm all for it. Like I'm glad it's not a 2-man race. Like I'm glad that it's going to be a lot more competitive, and I can't wait for that part. But
yeah, I like the fact that it's also spread out across multiple leagues, because we knew that La Liga, when Messi and Ronaldo was there, those were the two battling out. Now you have guys in the EPL, you have guys, all across multiple leagues that have a say on if they're going to win or not.
Yeah, it was insane when it was like almost the entire Barcelona and Real Madrid lineup that was on the list.
Yes.
So even and you knew at the end it was like it wasn't going to be anybody but Messi and Ronaldo. But yeah, so I am so glad that this is where we're at. But let's go ahead and name these nominees, man. So I'm just going to go through them. Jude Bellingham, Hakan Çalhanoğlu, Danny Carvajal, Ruben Diaz, Artem Dovbyk, Phil Foden, Grimaldo, Erling Haaland, Matt Hummels, Harry Kane, Toni Kroos, Ademola Lookman, shout out to him, Nigeria, I love him. Emiliano Martinez, also love him. Lautaro Martinez, Kylian Mbappe, Martin Odegaard, Danny Olmo, Cole Palmer, Declan Rice, Antonio Rudiger, Bukayo Saka, William Saliba, Federico Valverde, Vinicius Jr., Vitinha, that's kind of surprising, Nico Williams, Florian Wirtz, Granit Xhaka, and Lamine Yamal.
Yeah, so I think they probably have their best year, but I don't know if it's World Cup worthy. Yeah. Like there's no clear runners on that list.
Now, that being said, surprise. Who's the surprise for you that's on that list?
I think Rudiger is, even though I love the guy, it's like I'm a little surprised he's on that list. Maybe it's like so that he's hard. Also a defender.
Yeah, I always say this when we talk about the Ballon d'Or. Like, if you're a defender or goalkeeper, you're not going to win it. But it's nice to be featured on the list. But which
you have to, like, literally, defenders, you literally have to score like crazy amount of goals
or break a record.
Yes, and your national team win with you in the lineup. And I cannot tell if any of that list, any defenders, their team played any tournament worthy of it.
Yeah, I think so too. And obviously with these, and I mean, I said it, Vitinha was probably the one that surprised me. Mm-hmm. I don't watch PSG like you do. But whenever I did watch PSG, it's not like Vitinha like stood out to me in any way. Maybe me being a little rude to him, but obviously you're PSG, right? That's a club that you support. Yes. Actually,
that's my hometown. Yes,
you played.
Yes,
you played for PSG through the academy system, which that's still a cool flex to have. Yeah. Okay, well,
I think he was there literally in the Champions League. He was their best player.
Okay,
so that's why I think he was on that list, and you can tell that majority of those players were on that list because they were, I guess, a great supporter cast or the highlight of their teams for the season.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with that. I mean, PSG did have a really good season despite all the drama that came from it. But still, very good year nonetheless. One game away from the Champions League final. So I mean, still, you got to give credit where credit's due. Obviously, you're going to see guys from that Bayer Leverkusen team.
Deserve it.
You deserve it. Real Madrid, obviously for the Champions League victory. Man City for obvious reasons, and I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot of good players, but there's got to be a snub, right? There's got to be a player that you feel was left out on this list, and for you, who's that player that you're like, I can't believe he's not on here?
Did you say Osimhen was on that list?
I did not. I did not say he was on this list.
Yeah, I think he's probably the biggest snub out of that.
Ooh. I agree. I think it's unfortunate that he's in Galatasaray right now. I did mention that a little bit earlier
But
earlier in this.
I think he's going to, even though the whole saga was weird, but I think him probably going to Galatasaray probably will be a good thing for him because they're a very exciting league to play with.
It's a goal scorers league. I know that for a fact. So I mean,
so he can rip it and then go in the winter transfer window, and then a team could be spending summer transfer money for him.
Yeah.
So
he's a quality 9. So
I think he's the one that's missing out of there just because of the name and what he's done for Napoli and Nigeria at the AFCON.
I think for me, my snub, and he was very, very vocal about him not being featured on this list, especially when a good majority of his teammates are also featured in these nominations. And that is, of course, my adopted son, Rodrigo.
Okay.
I think he did take a bit of a step back. We're only going off of last season. Obviously, right now, you could take it or leave it, but let's be honest. Right now, Real Madrid is still trying to figure things out with Mbappe. But I mean, Rodrigo was crucial in very key moments for Real Madrid in their run last season. I do think he did take a little bit of a step back, and I think it was one trying to get used to the initial formation that Ancelotti was using, which was the 4-4-2 diamond. I still wasn't a fan of it. But then obviously Bellingham going from a center mid to a striker out of nowhere. I think obviously Bellingham was the big talking point for Real Madrid last year, even though Vinny, I still have my feelings towards Vinny more so. But Rodrigo, still a very good support player. And I think that's the reason why he's not featured in this list. But I mean, it's hard not to give Rodrigo some love, especially how he played for Real Madrid. And even how he played for Brazil. But obviously Brazil was not the best summer for Brazil. But still, I think when you talk about Brazilian and Real Madrid, you feel Rodrigo deserves to be on the list as well.
Yes, and I think we also have to remember that what the Ballon d'Or is now versus before was that it has to do a lot to do with how players are being marketed in people and how much marketing power is behind those players with their team and the normal way of making money. So some of those players made stats wise in their team are doing awesome job, but if they don't get the recognition because start off the bench or don't have the name behind it, that's when the Ballon d'Or kind of ignores you a lot more.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, I think that everyone that's on this list deserves to be on the list.
Oh, yeah.
I think what you mentioned about Vitinha is I probably should have put more respect on him. Someone's gonna say something about Lookman, and I'm gonna tell you this right now. If you did not watch the AFCON and saw how he balled out with Nigeria, and then I mean, he put Atalanta on his back. I just want to say that
he did.
Especially once again, that Atalanta Bayer Leverkusen Europa final to me was the best final I ever watched. Especially when the manager of Atalanta is doing the shush at Xabi Alonso. It was one of those like, this guy has done nothing to you, but for some reason you just said, I hate this guy right now. And that just gives me like competitiveness. I just love that he just like, I don't care who's across me, I hate him. And so, but yeah, that match to me was just awesome. Lookman was the star of that final. And so, yes, he deserves to be on this list. But is he going to win it? Probably not. I wish I could say. I want to see another African win this. Like, I'm not going to lie.
I'm dying every year for it.
George Weah, it's crazy that like there's so many great African players, that come from that continent. And I mean, George Weah, obviously legend.
Yes.
But it's just so crazy to think that there's not another name when you think of African footballers, especially when you have Drogba, who has to present the award. And I'm just like, that's not fair.
Yeah. I think that's the one I think it's probably the era that we're in now that especially I think it was unfair to many of the players that were born in Messi and Ronaldo's generation that if they were in that window, they were screwed to begin with. It was just those exceptions that came in at, I forget, the Croatian that won it. I just went
Modric.
blank. Yes. So, and the Kaká, those are just like the bleep of that came in between the Ronaldo and Messi. So it was kind of hard for any of them to win it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a firm believer that now, knowing that how the AFCON is getting shown and how a lot more African superstars are deciding to play for their maternal and paternal countries, I think this is like the perfect window for one of them to win it in the coming years. They just have to, once they have a perfect, guess what? The African joke that happens is that when a player becomes like a superstar, their head might get a little bit too big.
Mm-hmm.
And then the season after, you see them completely drop off the map. And that's what we see with some of those guys like Osimhen carry Napoli. And then, the next year is, now I have to leave. Mm-hmm. So hopefully maybe in the future, but in my lifetime, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this: we're more than likely going to see an African Ballon d'Or winner before we see anybody from Central America. Keylor Navas was our best shot, but yeah, I don't see any. I mean, CONCACAF. I mean, no, I don't see anybody. It's hard because Alphonso Davies is a left back, and I think that would probably be our best shot as far as CONCACAF goes. But obviously he plays left back for Bayern,
out.
which you're already like 5 steps behind everybody when you're a defender. So it is harder to do it. But you know what? I guess we'll go right into it, right? So we'll do our top 3, right? Our top 3. And we'll work our way up from 3 all the way to 1. So these are our finalists, and obviously number 1 being our predicted winner for the Ballon d'Or. Who do you have right now at 3rd?
So give me 1 second. I need to go and check that list one more time because I know my number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably won't get a lot of friends from my Chelsea friends.
Oh, yikes. All right. I'll start things off then.
Yes.
I'm gonna go, and I mean, I think you have to give it to him. For 3rd, I'm going with Lautaro Martinez. I think solid year with Inter Milan. I mean, it wasn't even close. Which at this point in Serie A, it seems that whoever wins it is not going to be close. I mean, Napoli, no one was touching them. The same thing with Inter Milan last year. Maybe not the best Champions League for Inter Milan, but then Lautaro Martinez, which remember, a lot of people vilified him for the World Cup that they won, by the way. But he was vilified because he was just missing these clear. He was Gonzalo Higuain. Everyone was like giving him that treatment, giving him that exact treatment. He goes into Copa America. He's not the starter. He's coming off the bench, and he wins the Golden Boot for Argentina. He wins the Copa America for Argentina, and I think that is. I mean, you got to give props where props are due. He has his comeback. I put him at 3rd because it's hard to give an award to a guy that only plays like 15 minutes in the tournament. But like I said, he came up big and I think was very crucial for Inter Milan this past season.
All right, I will take that. So 3rd place, I will give it to Jude Bellingham. 3rd place.
I actually, that's not a bad spot.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad spot for him.
Oh.
I think if England somehow won the Euro, I think a lot of people would have projected him as to be the winner for the Ballon d'Or.
Oh, he would have been clear for me. If he would have even have more assists and then England would have won it. Yeah, I think they would have just given it to him.
Yeah, I think so too. And yeah, and it's the thing that's crazy is that this year more than ever, I have no idea where to go. I have no idea where to go because I've heard people say Bellingham's the front runner for the Ballon d'Or. I've heard other names thrown in as the front runner for the Ballon d'Or, but then when you add the Euro to it, it just hurts his value a little bit just because of wasn't his best performance in the Euro, was one of the better performers in the Euro, but wasn't his best performance. And yeah, I think your pick for third is a good shout because I have him at second. He's my guy for second. I agree that I don't think he's the winner. No, it's not like I have a jersey bet on the line by any means with who wins this Ballon d'Or, but it is. I think that it is a very close race between two players. But who do you have at second for the Ballon d'Or?
And I think that one is the one that kind of, I will say it's Haaland should be second. And I think the only reason why he's second is that he was not able to get his team to the Euros. I think that's like the biggest strike out I have. Because even though there's two ways that you have to do it, right? Either you carry your team, your national team, because it shows that you have the skills to just play with who you have.
Robert Lewandowski, which is probably a prime example.
And then the other part is that your club, of course, he just destroyed everybody. So the only strike that I have for him is that he was not able to at least get his team to the Euros.
No, yeah, I think Haaland, and I mean the times that he did have struggle was when he had to just go up against a center back that's just a whole different a Virgil van Dijk type of player, a Rudiger kind of player, a guy that could just be a nuisance to you throughout the game. But despite that, he was a man amongst boys almost every match. So, and I mean, once again, big part of Man City's another successful season for Man City. I'm tired of saying those words. But
likewise.
But he is a reason why. So I think, I do think that what's going to hurt Haaland in any way would be the fact that he was just not able to get into the Euro. And I think that's the same thing you could say for Martin Odegaard as well. While having a positive season with Arsenal, just couldn't get to the Euro. And I think that, unfortunately, when you look at the list of all these players, most of them were in some form of tournament, some international tournament, and those guys, because of that, it's going to hurt them drastically. So I do agree but Haaland does deserve to have recognition, and I do agree to that one.
He just get screwed over the year before with Messi. I was confident since there was no big tournament. I think the way he played the Champions League and, City winning almost everything, he should have won it. But, of course, Messi was still around.
Yeah. And my predicted winner for the Ballon d'Or, and a lot of people are expecting me to say Vinicius Jr., especially because my dumbass decided to make a jersey bet that if Vinny doesn't win the Ballon d'Or, that I'm going to give away a jersey. And unfortunately, I do feel like I'm probably going to have to give away a jersey because my winner for the 2024 Ballon d'Or is Rodri.
It's mine too.
It's so hard not to pick this guy. I mean, and it's funny because I think some will throw out Danny Carvajal. I think Danny Carvajal is going to get some votes. But, of course. But Rodri was pivotal for Man City. I think when he's not on the field, like kind of what you're saying, a player that hurts the team when he's not on the field. When Rodri's not on the field, you worry a little bit for Man City. He was pivotal. Funny because he plays the pivot for Spain.
Yep.
I mean, some people will say Lamine Yamal, and I can't disagree with that because Lamine Yamal it was just crazy to watch a 16-year-old do what he is. I don't think it's his time yet. Maybe this year, because the way he's been playing this year has been fun to watch, and that hurts me as a Madrista. But there's just no way you can't pick Rodri.
Yeah, and I think I think for me, even though I said, Chelsea fan, but we're not to that level just yet. So that's why I'm almost comfortable saying Rodri. And it's also the part that for Spain, we're all saying Lamine had like the best Euro and everything, but Rodri was the influence that let him play the game he wanted to play. So he did the dirty work. He was connecting the passes, and Lamar was just doing what he does, magic and enjoyment. So, yeah, I think if Rodri does not get it, I don't know who got paid off.
It's Jorginho all over again.
Yeah, they gotta have a very good justification because he's won it all. I mean, even if he was on the bench for Spain, for example, and he played a few minutes, if those of us that look at what you've won, and then you see he had back to back or whatever with City, and then go win the Champions League and then triples. And then you go with Spain and you win it in that year. What else does he has to win?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if there was a World Cup and then he completely tanked, then there was maybe some question mark. But every tournament he's been in, any league he's been in, every team he's been in has been the best. So
it's insane.
I don't see it.
It's insane, man. I think if you're Spanish, I mean, I watch Spain. I'm not going to say I root for Spain by any means or anything like that because I'm not. I mean, I guess if you look at my complexion, you might say I could be Spanish. But I think when Spaniard. It's just crazy, right? You go from having Busquets, who arguably can be said to be one of the best six in the world,
yes,
to now going to Rodri. There's no off period. You just transitioned into another world-class six. And it's insane to me. But yeah, the year that Rodri had was just amazing. And I think it's cool that if he does win it, because to see a defensive midfielder win this award just tells you how open this season was for any player to win it. If Danny Carvajal wins it, I don't know how wide open it can be because, like you said, it is so hard to give it to a defender. It's so hard to give it to a goalkeeper because, and I think with midfielders, right, they still contribute to the attack. And I mean, yes, outside the box, Rodri, it's guaranteed it's going in more than likely. So Rodri, I think was 100% him this year. A lot of success came his way this year, and if he doesn't win the Ballon d'Or, then yeah, France is rigged. Sorry, I can't. Don't want to disrespect your country.
Well, Spain did beat France in the Olympics, so I guess we can be a little sour in, I guess, a lot of things, Euros and the, yes. Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Somehow they give it to Messi.
No, it won't be an Argentine. Let's just put it that way. The Argentina are not the French favorite team at this moment. So yeah, it might be another European player, but yeah, no, it won't be.
Yeah,
Messi,
but it should be Rodri for sure. I agree with you. I did not expect you and me to both be on Rodri. Just so you guys know, Edward's 3. He did send me his 3 for the Ballon d'Or.
Okay.
He had Erling Haaland. His list was kind of funny, but that was like. But then I was also kind of like, you know what? It could happen. So it was Erling Haaland, Lautaro Martinez, and Lamine Yamal was his pick for the Ballon d'Or. So it's not a crazy. It's not gonna happen, but at the same time, it's like I can't throw it out. It's not outside the realm of possibility for it to happen because it has happened before when it comes to, especially when we had a Messi Ronaldo era, where there's been times where I was like, I feel that the player that got left out was the one that should have won.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So,
unfortunately, those names were. They usually pick those two, but I think now
Messi more often than not.
Yes, so it's time for literally any players that start their season have a chance to win the Ballon d'Or. It's just up to them to make it happen, and they no longer have the excuse of those are the 2 names.
Yeah, completely. And I think I like the way they're doing it now, where they judge it off the season and not by the year. And for me, at least, because the thing I like is that obviously summer transfer window happens, you go to another team, right?
Yep.
So there's at least a period
First
where you're
reset.
trying to get the chemistry going. So it doesn't necessarily you probably start a little rough. If you go off by the season, and that for me, I like that because now you can throw AFCON into the conversation because it is something that happens in that season.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be the talking point for how you treat the summer tournaments, where you count it towards the past season or the current season. Could be a funny debate, but I think doing it by the season now, I think it makes the most sense, and we're gonna get more opportunities for wide open opportunities for these players to get looks, and I can't wait to see the variety of nominees for the next coming years. But yeah, this Ballon d'Or, I'm keeping a very close eye. This is probably the first time I might try to actually watch the ceremony. More often than not, I'm like, I know who's gonna win it. I don't want to watch it, but
Yeah, fair.
but I think this time I do. I'm actually gonna want to watch it.
I typically watch it. It's kind of fun to see all the OG players giving the award. So it's fun, but at least now we know someone might be different, but it'll be quite interesting if they throw something weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree on that one. Hey guys, this is Hector from the Insert Name FC podcast, here to tell you guys about Canada Dips. It is a great tasting, superior alternative to traditional dip, using CBD in a way that is radical, enjoyable, and effective. It comes in 5 core flavors: wintergreen, mint, citrus, mango, and American spice. Canada Dip CBD is the new evolution in dip, allowing guys to enjoy great, long-lasting taste without the downsides. If you guys want to go ahead and try them out, use the code BellyUp20 at CanadaDipCBD.com. Once again, BellyUp20 at CanadaDipCBD.com, and you'll get yourself 20% off your purchase. Thank you again for Canada Dips for being a great partner of BellyUpSports. And I think that's the perfect way to segue into the next topic, and that is, of course, the Champions League is coming up. As a matter of fact, it is going to start on the 19th, I believe, is when well, no, not 19th, the 17th, because they do Tuesdays and Wednesdays. The 17th kicks off the tournament, I believe. I have Moussa over here fact checking me, and I appreciate that.
I'm trying to help myself.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
This is how podcasting is done. But new rules this year. The format has been completely changed and revamped. If you're people that don't like change, then this is probably not the tournament for you. And I might be one of those people too. I may or may not. But so if you guys don't know, the new format for the Champions League is there's no more groups. It is going to be one giant table of 36 teams, which I believe that's also a new thing that has been added on. They actually increased the number of teams that are being featured in this tournament. They still do a drawing. They did the drawing ceremony. Cristiano Ronaldo was there. That's all I got to say. But essentially what the drawing is, you still have 4 pots. Obviously, it all goes off of your UEFA. I feel like I'm going to do a math class now. Like
You have
your UEFA coefficient, which is some I don't know, formula that they have discovered on how good the team is. So obviously the higher your coefficiency score is, the pot is you're in. So pot A are obviously rated as the best teams. Pot B are like, they're kind of good. They're good. C is like they're all right. D is I'm praying for you. So but yes, essentially every team will face 2 teams from each pot. So 8 matches guaranteed. You're playing 8 matches in the Champions League now. So it's not 6 matches, it's now 8. The reason behind this is obviously, if you guys remember a few years ago, probably don't remember because it was during the pandemic, but a few big clubs decided to create their own league and called it the Super League. And everybody was angry because they were like, "Oh, this isn't what football is supposed to be." Everyone was, to the point where the fans rioted so much that a lot, specifically the Premier League teams, were the ones who were like, "Okay, we're backing off. We don't want this." So fans have a voice. Fans can make things happen. But yeah, so a lot of teams ended up backing out. I think Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Juventus are still the only teams that are still trying to make this thing happen, which is
mainly Barcelona.
Well, we all know why they're there. But yet they still buy Danny Olmo. But I can't say anything. My team's in this. I can't be too mean to Barcelona right now. I still can't be. But yeah. So essentially, and the format was actually this. This was the format. Probably less teams because they were actually gonna not let anybody qualify for it. But essentially, the format that we're being looked at. This is the Super League. This was gonna be the Super League, and UEFA was like, "Well, how about we do this? So you guys don't do the Super." Essentially, this was UEFA's way. And I know some people were like, "Oh, UEFA and FIFA were trying to be high and mighty and choosing fans." No, they were like, they probably asked them, "Hey, can we get some of that money?" And they said no. So they're like, "Okay, well, we're gonna fight this." And it's probably really the real reason. Let's be honest, it's FIFA.
It's all about money anyway. So
it's all about money. And I mean, this is pretty much it for why it is. Because if you think about it, you have to play two teams from Pot A, so you're guaranteed 2 high-level matches. Or I'm not going to do all the math. But
fair enough.
You're guaranteed high-level matches. You're going to see either a Real Madrid play Juventus or a Bayern Munich versus Man City. You're going to see those big matchups, and that's what the fans want to see. And on the flip side, if you're one of those teams that are in Pot D, you also have a good chance to still go far and not be in a group with Bayern Munich, AC Milan, and Real Madrid. So, I mean, and God, that sounds terrible.
That sounds bad. That's mean. Yeah.
So, I mean, we did see it last season where we had Borussia Dortmund in a group with PSG, AC Milan, and Newcastle. So, it does happen. But so I see it's kind of in some way, it opens up a whole different realm of upsets in some case. Now, the teams that finish in the top 8 in the table automatically advance to the knockout round, while 24th to 9th place go into a preliminary knockout round. So they'll do a 2-leg matchup with whoever they face off against, and they go to that team advances to the knockout round. So there's no more getting relegated down to the Europa League. That's not going to be a thing anymore. Once you're out, you're out. So can be interesting. I'm going to go in with an open mind, and see how it looks. For me, I miss the groups. I'm not gonna lie. The thrill of seeing a group of death is just like, to me, was like the best part for me. Now it's just like, who am I rooting for? I mean, obviously Real Madrid, but I mean like because sometimes I do root for the groups. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I know this is gonna sound mean, Moussa, but when they were doing the drawing for the groups for the last one, obviously the group of death, like I mentioned, was PSG, Borussia Dortmund, AC Milan, and Newcastle. I was cheering. Once I saw Dortmund, PSG, and AC Milan, I was like, throw in a Premier League team. Throw in a Premier League team.
Just see who I want to be in there.
And as soon as I saw Newcastle United, I had the biggest chuckle in the world. I was like, this is just perfect. And it's funny that Borussia Dortmund and PSG ended up facing off in the semifinal. Yeah. Just shows how tough that group was. But I feel like I missed that. I missed that part at least. But I mean, in your viewpoint of this new format, how do you feel?
So I think the biggest change on here, it looks like it's mostly financial, because I'm looking at the first games, like on the 17th, where they have Bayern Munich playing G and K Dynamo, which that is pretty much a Champions League and a Europa League teams that typically do not face each other.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like, some of those teams will get to have those big teams in their stadium, which I guess increase their profile of those teams. It looks like Young Boys is playing Aston Villa. I mean,
that's going to be a fun
game,
one, actually.
Yeah, so typically that game, you may see it at the Europa League level. So I think they're just trying to come back with the times and change maybe according to what other teams wants to see. But I kind of like group stage because there's those group of death, like you said, and it kind of lets you know, and it kind of forced the teams to play well to be in first place, so that if they were in first place, they get to play against the second. And I feel sort of on these is more like just win your 2 games and see who you have next. So maybe the bettors might not like it as much, but
It does open up, and I think that's where I'm trying to keep an open mind for. I think that this does, like you mentioned, because from these pods, it's one home, one away. So it's not like, oh, pod D, that's all home games for the pod A team. No, like you're gonna have to go into Croatia. You got to go into Czech Republic. You got to go into Slovakia. You're gonna have to play that team in their home stadium.
some are scary.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. But I think that it does open up some possibilities. And I mean, hey, anything can happen, right? Some team could just maybe not have it that year. They don't get it. They don't get into 20. They get 25th instead of 24th, and then they're not in that preliminary lockout, right? And things change drastically. I think you're gonna see who you expect to see in the top 16.
Yep.
I don't think that that's gonna change by any means, but I do think that you'll see some sleeper teams come out that could really change things up, at least in the tournament. Especially if you really think about that preliminary knockout round between 24th and 9th. Like, you probably just got in on the skin by the skin of your teeth to get into that preliminary knockout round. You beat whoever you beat. Now you're in the round of 16 of the Champions League. I mean, that's like a storybook for some of these teams.
That pretty much financially, that's pretty much will take care of their entire year's salary for players and everything.
Yeah,
just for make it to that knockout stage.
And that's huge if you really think about it, especially for these smaller clubs. And I think that is a good thing to mention. But all right, who's in this tournament? Let's find out here. So we have quite a variety of nations. From England, we got Arsenal, Aston Villa, Liverpool, and Man City. Spain, we got Atletico de Madrid, Barcelona, Girona making their appearance in this tournament. So that's going to be fun.
So City 1 and City 2?
Yeah, unfortunately. And Real Madrid. In Germany, we got 5 teams. That is Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, RB Leipzig, Leverkusen, and Stuttgart. Stuttgart needs some positive results, man. They have been looking pretty rough so far this year. And then in Italy, we have Atalanta, Bologna, Inter, Milan, Juventus, and AC Milan. France, we got Brest, Lille, Monaco, and Paris Saint-Germain. Shout out to Brest, man. They had an amazing season last year. I know they didn't win the league, but still, it's crazy. I will say last year we saw a lot of mid-table teams find a way to get into a Champions League spot. Obviously, Aston Villa, Girona, and Brest being those, and Bologna as well. So, I like that. I just don't know how it's going to Bologna, I know for a fact is not going to pan out because they got their team just got stripped apart. So
the usual suspect.
The usual thing that happens, unfortunately. Now going to the smaller nations, Austria, we got RB Salzburg and Sturm Graz. Netherlands, we got Feyenoord and PSV Eindhoven, no Ajax, because they were terrible last year. In Portugal, we got Benfica and Sporting. We got Belgium's Club Brugge, Croatia's GNK Dynamo, which that's the team that you did mention earlier. In Czech Republic, we got Sparta Praha, a team that we usually see in the Europa League. Scotland, we got Celtic. Serbia, we got Crvena Zvezda. Slovakia, we got Slovan Bratislava. Switzerland, Young Boys, and in Ukraine, you got Shakhtar Donetsk. I wonder how they're gonna do it because obviously I do believe there's still a conflict in Ukraine.
But they probably have to find a neutral place to do that.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate. But all right, who is your team to watch in this tournament?
Outside of the usual suspect?
Yeah. Or you could pick the usual suspect.
Well, I guess Real is the normal. What I'm curious to see is how Girona and Atalanta is going to do, because they've proved that they can play against the best of Spain and Italy, but if they were to play against, Brest, for example, or the Celtic, that are smaller teams, how they will manage. But I think just seeing that this whole table, you literally have to scroll down to see all of the teams that are playing.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's almost on the smaller teams always have like a chip on their shoulders. And now knowing that it is one huge pot of teams, you can catch one of those teams on a bad day and literally ruin their whole entire Champions League in one game.
And this is where I will say that it's not too different. Well, it's a little bit different from the Super League, because in Super League, the idea was to have just the Arsenals, the Liverpools, the Atletico Madrids, the Real Madrids, the Inter and AC Milans of the world just be in this tournament.
So they were just like
Nobody
a
else.
handful of rich teams that even if they lose, they know they're getting a piece of that purse.
Mhm.
But now you have to share with 35 something teams. And now it's just a question of, how the other leagues will build their season, how their league season happens. That will determine how some of these teams play.
Not only that, but some of these players.
Yes.
Some of these players can just stand out. When you think about some of the legends of Champions League, right? Manchester United played against a Sporting team, and they saw a young Cristiano Ronaldo, and the rest was history there. When you see maybe a promising Croatian player from GNK Dinamo, maybe he has a standout performance in Dortmund. I mean, that's one of those things that it opens up these realm possibilities. Like, to these guys, this is huge for them, not only for the clubs but for players on their own. Like, they get to wear that Champions League patch on their sleeve. It means something to them. And I feel, maybe that's something that some of these big clubs are going to take too much for granted, and an easy slip up can happen. Just like you mentioned. I mean, a few years ago, we had a team called Sheriff who, upsetted Real Madrid. So, I mean, those things happen. And like you said, could shake things up on the table. You just got to get...
There'll be a lot of upset. I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of upsets this Champions League.
I think so, for sure. You did say Girona and Atalanta, and I think those are good names. I mean, Atalanta, the way they're feeling from winning the Europa League, I feel like they feel like they could take on the whole world the way they played.
They beat literally the best team in the world, if we say. Technically, the way they were playing in undefeated, they're the undefeated team.
The only loss that Bayer Leverkusen got that year.
Yeah, so technically they could say they're one of the best in the world, because they defeated the undefeated team.
They ruined the perfect season, and dude, if I was that team, I just feel like I'm like the greatest. Like,
I won the world. I said we're the only team you did not beat.
And I would remind you that every single day, just every single day. Just have. I hope the coach of Atalanta has like a shirt of him just shushing Xabi Alonso for no apparent reason. Like, I want that honestly as a shirt. But yeah, no, I think for me, I'll go on the flip side. Bayer Leverkusen, right? How do they follow up a year which I don't expect them to go undefeated again. That's just this ain't EA Sports FC. But they're this is why Xabi Alonso stayed for another year. Yes. He wants to finish this project out. A lot of people are hoping that maybe one day he becomes the next manager of Liverpool or Real Madrid. But right now he's currently the manager of Bayer Leverkusen. And how does he follow up from a year that was almost perfect? And I think this is not Europa League. This is a different challenge. You got the resting is a lot. Obviously, thank God you don't have to prepare for a match that's on Thursday now. Now you got Tuesday or Wednesday. you can rest a little bit and then focus on your league. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but it is a new challenge. And
I'm
so
just happy Marseille is not playing in the Champions League. So, but that's just a PSG France, I guess,
yeah,
hatred.
I don't know how popular Marseille is right now.
Because of that certain name, but yes. But I guess he's doing his job, I guess.
Hey, you know what? No, all publicity is good publicity, I guess.
Yeah, that's why I won't name him, but I won't do that to your podcast.
Oh, I mean, I've talked about it plenty of times.
Nice.
I don't know if he did it or not, but I think he did it. Player to watch for this tournament.
I don't know. I think for me, it's one of those things.
It could be anybody, literally, man. Like I think I went. I didn't realize how many teams were in this thing. I think I messed up when I added that to the discussion. But I will say, there's a name that I've been constantly intrigued by, and watching how he plays in his club, and then also how he played in the international level. I want to see what Florian Wirtz does. I know we've been talking about I've been talking about a lot of Lamine Yamal, but I'm going to cool off on that for a little bit. I'm done glazing that kid. But I mean, Wirtz, man, that's a promising future for not only wherever he does in his career, but for Germany as well. And I think seeing what he can do in Champions League. And I mean, I don't think this is his first time in Champions League. At least I don't think it is. But seeing him with this different Bayer Leverkusen team, like what does he do? How does he contribute? When do we see his Champions League moment this year?
Yeah, I think for me it's always hard to when it comes to players because they can sometimes be overshadowed by the team they're playing on or overhyped on the teams they're playing on.
I mean, obviously, all eyes are going to be on one player in Real Madrid because this is literally the reason why he went to Real Madrid.
Yeah, it kind of hurts because I think it also hurts the way he's playing now for France because I think his ego is a little bit of bruised.
He's got to play like Benzema. I keep telling people, man, as soon as he accepts that Benzema role, he'll start balling out. But no, he wants to be a left winger with Vinicius.
Yeah, he cannot. He won't do Benzema. Benzema was a supporting player first, and yet, I will table that. I'm not too sure what player to watch, except the usual suspect. I'm just curious to see how Haaland is going to manage. He's destroying the EPL. We'll know that's normal.
I mean, back-to-back hat tricks already. Yeah. So
I just want to see once the Champions League start how he manages that because now they know how he plays, and he has bigger bodies. Like Rudiger, for example, he's a pest, and that's why it worked for Haaland. And he's strong, like as strong as him. So he was supposed to be a pest. It's kind of hard for me even to look at any of these teams here and says, who has that annoying character that Haaland can not enjoy?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good shot. I think, honestly, I would love to see how Lukemba over at RB Leipzig, how he would perform with Erling Haaland. I think he's still a little too raw. Maybe not for Haaland, like to go one-on-one with Haaland, but I've seen Lukemba at least improve every year I've watched him. So I would love to see how he takes that next step. Yeah, there's not. I mean, Atalanta just seems to have a lot of dogs in that back line. I would love to see how they would do against Haaland. And I think you could.
There's like no real like defenders when you say like who's the best defender in the world at this moment. It's kind of hard to say a name out.
Yeah, I mean,
Straight up.
I think many will say Van Dijk, but I think Van Dijk is
But he's
definitely
been up and down.
he's getting up there in age now. Rudiger is always going to be the guy that I think everyone
He's just
thinks
the
of too.
pest. Yeah.
But he does get exposed still. It's not like he's not perfect, but
Yes.
but I think you're talking about that next center back, the next world class center back. And honestly, I don't know.
We'll
I
have
mean,
to be biased if we. I'll
it,
probably put a French player in the back because our defense is great, but that'll be more of a bias.
I mean Saliba.
Yeah, but he kind of got exposed recently, even just the last game as well. I can see the league. So it's like there's not one that I can jump and says.
Yeah, I mean, no longer the days of Sergio Ramos and Puyol, like those guys where you're just like that guy's gonna give you hell for like a whole 90 minutes.
And
Even
then score.
even Pepe, like I mean that guy kills you, and I mean literally.
And,
But
he's 60.
yeah, I mean I'm surprised he retired. But all right,
Yeah.
Your dark horse team, who's gonna be that team that is speaking of pests? That's just gonna be a pest in this tournament, and especially in this format. That work this format right here works to them the best.
I'll probably give it to Girona because I think level wise and how they played in Spain and they were a pain to Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Atletico. And those are the three big dogs in world football in general.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are able to make a pass out of the big names, I think they're probably it. But after that, it's like just the smaller teams. Unfortunately, like Salzburg, I wouldn't be able to name one player. Bratislava, I wouldn't be able to name one. So they're the dark horses one. But we know of what Girona did last year in Spain, and we know who they are associated with. So we were kind of surprised they were even in the Champions League because of the city connections. But I think they're probably the one that is not as known, but last year has proven to be a team not to mess with.
And I mean, they're following it up so far very well right now in La Liga too. So yeah, I think that's a good shot for Girona. I feel like the fact that this format it's new to everybody. Everyone's is gonna have to get used to it. But I think a team that could definitely benefit from this format, and I'm just gonna give a shout out to them again, is Atalanta.
Okay.
I think that with their physicality, the way they're gonna be playing, I think that it gonna last them throughout this tournament. I think so. I think defense is your best. Defense is always going to win you championships. If you don't believe me, watch last Champions League final. It's kind of boring. Even though my team won, it was kind of boring. But those are the teams that do fairly well in this tournament. As long as you can be strong at the back line, have a good goalkeeper, and all you need is your front to do is attack. And they have a great attacking option with Lookman. So I do expect him to be taking another next step in his career with Atalanta. As long as he doesn't get sold to anybody by the wintertime, I think that he's going to be that's going to be a really good team that could definitely spoil some of these heavy favorites' chances, but as well put themselves in a position to be in a knockout round.
Yeah, and I guess it'll be a win pretty much to make it to the knockout rounds for most of these teams.
Exactly. Who is your favorite right now to win the Champions League?
Well, we'll just put Real Madrid there. It's Champions League. It's their tournament. You just put them in there in their own category, and they don't even make sense on that part. Fortunately, City, I think, is one of those. And me being biased, I'll say PSG, but Real Madrid is
I would
Real
say
Madrid
though,
is
right?
shelled, and from there.
I think the only issue for Real Madrid right now is they're still trying to figure out that front three. despite the front three problems, someone still manages to score a goal, whether it's Federico Valverde, whether it's Jude Bellingham, whether it's Rodrigo. I mean, hell, Dani Carvajal is good for a goal or two every once in a while. I mean, they just find ways to score goals despite what's going on with the front three. The question is going to be, when is that front three going to fix? When is it going to click? And obviously we look at the left wing, right? Because it's between Vinicius and Mbappe. One of them has to like start being selfless. Whether it's Vinicius that becomes a selfless one, or which is now as I say this, is that I'm asking for a tall order.
Those two. I think you might need to add someone in the middle that says, you know what, I'm gonna pass you both the ball. You just do what you need, and I will do the rest. But I think it is their tournament, and even last year we were saying, they still had question mark in La Liga, but Champions League was still their tournament. So I think for me, it's their tournament. Mm-hmm. We're just happy to see them and possibly join them to maybe win it.
I will say, though, with the way this tournament is structured, it does give PSG a really good shot. I think when you talk about like the big teams, once again, Man City, Real Madrid, I would even throw Barcelona in there, because Hansi Flick has this team humming. And I hate that is happening. But Robert Lewandowski is
scoring again.
Is scoring again. Whether it's a penalty or not, don't care. He's scoring goals. Lamine Yamal is being very controversial. And I mean, Hansi Flick found his new Thomas Mueller in Dani Olmo. And the worst part now is he's using the academy. Like, I don't like, it's just like everything is a Madrista for me. It has been tortured by Barcelona, because you were just like, who the hell is this? I've said that more times than I have in that Pep Guardiola era. I was like, who's this kid? Who's Jordi Alba? And then I find out who Jordi Alba is. And so like it's always been that trend for me. I think I talked a lot of shit about Hansi Flick, and I just thought because he was the guy that won the Champions League in a COVID year that I could like get away with it. But I mean, he's been running that team. It's their fitness level is insane. I think I don't think you cannot not mention Barcelona, especially the way they're playing right now. I'll give them. And once again, they're finding they're popping out academy players now again too. I know that one of their center mids he got injured. I think he's out for the year with an ACL injury, but still, like,
ouch. They've
been finding academy players. Kurabasi, I think the center back that they got, like, it's like another copy of Puyol. So I think when Barcelona uses their academy, it becomes a dangerous game. And now you're adding Hansi Flick's tactics, which I have said it does work when you have the right team, and they have the right team, because even Rafinha, a guy that everyone thought was going to be an outcast, is now a crucial player. Scored a hat trick. Who
would have thought?
Yeah, I mean, if Edward's shocked that he's even rooting for Ferran Torres. So I mean, like, it's full circle moment. I think Barcelona, despite their financial, and I mean, talk about financial struggles. Here's the prime opportunity to fix everything with their financial struggles. Here is by winning this.
I don't think this is gonna fix their financial issues.
No, it does not.
I think
it would help.
It may just add, plug one hole, but I think the world does not know what Barcelona have far.
I still don't know how they buy some of their players. I don't know how they got Dani Olmo.
Well, they are selling grass, so
they gave away Gundogan for free. So I'm just I don't know how they're doing this. But yeah, Barcelona might. Talk about, speaking of dark horses, Barcelona could definitely be a dark horse, because nobody knows that. No one saw this coming from Barcelona, but it's a very
maybe
wide
we'll
open.
give just a little bit of Arsenal, maybe give them a little bit of love, which don't really like to, but maybe this is the way that they can actually do something.
I've learned real quick that me and Jose are on two different spectrums when it comes to Arsenal. He likes the Raheem Sterling signing. Well, not signing, addition. I'm
Yeah.
and I I did say I shed on that Pedro Neto signing for Chelsea, but like because I think Pedro Neto was unnecessary for what Chelsea already has on their roster, unless you're planning on shipping out Modric, which I don't blame you for that.
Yeah, he's
But
not going anywhere.
he's not going anywhere.
No.
But it's like for me, because where's Sterling? At least in my eyes, where's Sterling playing? Because Saka's got the right. They've Arsenal's played a lot better with Martinelli starting on the left, but that would be where Sterling would play essentially if you were to have him on the field.
Hmm.
I've been harping for a 9, even though I know Kai Havertz has been a little bit better this year, but still I would want a 9. And I didn't think they really needed like Mikel Merino. Interesting. I like the signing. But did they really need him? Oh, actually, no. The way Thomas Partey was playing, I actually don't blame him for that one. But even Calafiori, I like him,
Right.
but I don't think it was necessarily a necessity. Especially when you have Gabriel and Saliba in the back line. But yeah, no, I wanted a 9. I didn't get a 9, so I wasn't happy. I actually Arsenal was one of my losers for the transfer window. So I've been really critical about Arsenal this year. And I've always been critical about Arsenal.
I appreciate them for taking Sterling. So
I mean, that's one less locker room space that you guys had to worry about.
yes, these guys are they're finding their ways.
But yeah, no, it's I mean, Arsenal. I think this format does help Arsenal. I think you have a good point. But watch them get paired up with Bayern Munich again in the knockout rounds. They always find a way. They always find a way.
I'm a spectator in this Champions League, so I enjoy every single game.
Can you see Bayern Munich? I mean, Bayern Munich was kind of mentioning PSG, but Bayern Munich was one game away. Actually, if it wasn't for a terrible offside call, they had a good shot at making it to the Champions League final. Do you think Vincent Kompany? Okay, now I just answered my own question on that one. Can Vincent Kompany and the boys can they see another Champions League?
I would love to because he's a black coach, but I'm wondering if that's one of his directives. One of the plans. I guess for the ownership, is it to win the Champions League? Or it's actually to win the Bundesliga for I guess their agenda. Because, a lot of those agendas, I don't know if it's a mandate for him to win the Champions League. Maybe make it to the knockout stage and be happy. But I don't know if it will be their top priority because they want to go back and dominate their regular league.
No, you're right. I mean, obviously, a very disappointing year for Bayern Munich where they didn't win a single trophy. Very fitting for Harry Kane, by the way. But I don't know, man. There's a standard for Bayern Munich, right? They're the powerhouse club of that league, right? A lot of people were always like, "Oh, it's just another year that Bayern Munich wins it." Last year,
not so much,
and they weren't even bad last year. That's the thing, though. They as a matter of fact, they had more points than they did the year that they won the year before, where they won the league. It's just that Bayer Leverkusen went undefeated. You can't. There's nothing much else you can do on that part. But it took a team to go undefeated to beat Bayern Munich. Just let that sink in. But still, a very fair point. Is that, like you said, is that the board's goal right now? You bring in a coach that has, I would argue, not a lot of experience.
Yeah,
besides Anderlecht and obviously what he did with Berlin getting them promoted. Still a very young coach.
Yep.
Which, I mean, I just feel like they're all coming out younger and younger every year. Shoot,
good.
Brian has a 31-year-old coach, so I mean,
because that's when you see the favorites, some of those favorites, part of their mandate for the season is to win the Champions League. It's like a mandatory thing. Yeah. I don't know if them as the big team if that's their top priority, where, if you don't win it or if you don't make it past X stage, Vincent Company, you're out.
Yeah. But I think you're right, though. Until proven differently, it's Real Madrid. It's Real Madrid's. This is Real Madrid's tournament. It's their legacy, it's their birthright, as many will say. I am one of those people that also says that. Obviously, 15 Champions Leagues, there's like no club is going to touch that for a while.
Yeah.
And with what Real Madrid has signed, and I mean, I'll keep saying it. Like Real Madrid is going to be fine. Like even with the struggles that they have right now, with trying to get Mbappe and Vinny to get in line and figure some sort of communication, which there's no excuse. They both speak Spanish. Which that surprised me about Mbappe. I don't know why I'm surprised by that by Mbappe. It's fitting that Mbappe is multilingual.
But I think he was just groomed to be a professional, just in general.
Also,
I think every single team is killing themselves now, because I think he tried out for like Chelsea so he tried out for a lot of teams, and it was Monaco that pulled the heist to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why he learned, all those languages to speak it. It's he's just missing that one piece. And I think Real Madrid was only the one fitted for him, pretty much.
Yeah, and I think once they figure out that, Real Madrid is going to be very dangerous. And because, I mean...
And they only have what? All of them, everybody's like under 25.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. Like,
yeah. I mean, the oldest player is Carvajal, and I know because he's my age. So.
And yeah, and it's like, it's ridiculous when you're like, you have all of these guys. I mean, for the next 10 years.
If you really think about it, Courtois hasn't even hit his prime as a goalkeeper.
Yeah, nope, not yet.
I mean,
it's sick.
It is, yeah. Besides that, Rudiger might be the next oldest.
Yeah. Everybody doesn't act like it, so
yeah, he's a child at heart. Definitely that. But yeah, I think you said, proven differently, and I think this format, it does bode to the bigger clubs still at the end of it all, and those teams like Man City and Real Madrid. Yeah, I think those are the teams that are you're gonna see up top. Have a favorable matchup in the knockout rounds, and see how far they go. Unless they have to face off against each other, which is what happened last Champions League early in the tournament. Which, I mean, it happens. But yeah, I think when you think of Real Madrid, Man City, I'll even throw PSG. I think this format, it opens a lot for them. So I mean, anything can happen. They went into the knockout round as a runner-up. If I remembered correctly. So, I mean, if you finish in 8th place, you're a higher seed. You're going to have a favorable matchup. So I think that this does work out for, any of the three teams that we mentioned. So, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. Like I said, I'm going in as open-minded as I can. I'm not going to try to insult this tournament by any means. I think it's still going to be a fun tournament. It's still Champions League. We're still going to hear the music. We're still going to be excited. There's just something about it when you see your team with that patch, with that Champions League patch, that you just feel like you made it. Speaking as someone that likes Arsenal, like, it sucked when my two options were the Premier League or Europa League. And I was like, I'm definitely not getting the Europa League version. But it does develop a new excitement. Do I see Arsenal winning the Champions League this year? Hell no. But
ouch.
maybe one day. You know what? Like I said, with this format, it could happen, right? Because everyone's going in new. There's no one has experience into this. I mean, besides everyone having a league table, but I mean, it's a playoff after that. This is American content.
Yeah, he's like, it's American playoff, American content.
You know what? NFL just kicked off, man. I feel like a little American. You know what? Champions League is trying to copy America. That's what I'm taking from that.
Yeah,
Next thing you know, they're going to start conferences.
I hope they just stick to what they know. I hope.
Yeah, I hope so. Hopefully that's the case. But yeah, that is Champions League, man. Moussa, thank you for coming on, man. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, man. And obviously, anytime you want to come on the podcast, you're more than welcome to hijack the show for me, man.
Anytime.
But of course, man, tell the good people where they can find you. And if you have anything big coming up, let us know.
Yes. Well, I guess the fun part of things is that we were just talking about the UEFA Champions League, but in St. Louis, we actually have the St. Louis High School Champions League that's actually kicks off this Tuesday. So it will pretty much be like the original Champions League brackets. So I think that's one of the most exciting one where, we'll be crowning the best high school soccer team against, private, small, big, medium. You win it, you'll be the first one ever. So perfect timing for the Champions League. For myself, Mo Football TV and Mo Football Podcast on all social media. And I think my next episode will be coming out tomorrow, where I'll be talking to some of the coaches from Tampa Bay, where I filmed it at the Tampa Rowdies Stadium. And
nice.
One of
That's
the
a beautiful stadium, by the way.
Yes, it was amazing. And one of the dads, actually, his son played in Europe in professional soccer in a whole bunch of places. So he has some of that experience of being a dad that has a professional kid. So a lot more of those interviews coming up, and you'll see me on GolzTV with Hector. So, everywhere.
Busy man in football. I love to see that, man. You have a great show, great audience, man. I can't wait to see what you're growing with over there with Mo Football. Thank you for coming on, man. We'll see you next time. That hopefully sooner than the last time. But we'll go ahead and segue right into games to watch this weekend. So be ready for that. All right, guys, no players of the week. We're going to start this new rule where we are not going to count international matches for players of the week. So that's just going to be a thing. But thank you to Moussa from Mo Football for coming on, man. Check him out, Mo Football TV, over there also on GolzTV as well. But go check out Mo Football, man. Great guy. Amazing interviews that he's constantly doing, man. Really love that I got to meet this guy when we were doing AFCON, and has just been nothing but a pure joy to have around. But games to watch this weekend, man. Obviously, the international break's over. We're back to regular season play. Across the other leagues, not in Europe, we got the Houston Dynamo taking on Real Salt Lake, FC Cincinnati versus the Columbus Crew, Hell is Real Derby, and the El Tráfico, LA Galaxy versus LAFC is going to be a really, really spicy one. We'll see who ends up running LA. In Liga MX, we got Toluca versus Tijuana, two teams that are doing very well right now in Liga MX. And El Super Clásico, America versus Chivas. Both teams kind of need to find some form. So we'll see how that pans out. But it's still one of the biggest rivalries in Mexico. And I promise you, make sure you guys watch that because it's always a juicy one. In Liga 1, we got Marseille versus Nice and PSG versus Brest. So I think some good matches over there. In the Bundesliga, we got RB Leipzig taking on FC Union Berlin. Both teams looking trying to improve their season. And we got Borussia Mönchengladbach taking on VfB Stuttgart. Also, actually, I think that's the one that both teams are trying to find some results. In Serie A, we got AC Milan versus Venezia. AC Milan is still looking for a win, so we'll see if they can do it against Venezia. And Atalanta versus Fiorentina, also to go check out there in Serie A. In La Liga, we got Real Sociedad versus Real Madrid, and Girona versus Barcelona. So Barcelona looking to have revenge for last year because they did lose to Girona, which took them away from second place in La Liga. All right, in the Premier League, we got Manchester City versus Brentford. We'll see how that happens. And we got the North London derby, Tottenham versus Arsenal. I'm going to say it. Fuck Tottenham, and I hope Arsenal handles their business against that lower-level team from North London. But yeah, those are the games to watch, man. There's tons of games obviously going on, but if you guys need a good beginner's guide, those are some key matchups to go ahead and check out, man. So we're going to go ahead and take a break, and then we'll go right into 3 Up, 3 Down, the Bundesliga Kits.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan from No Credentials Required to talk to you about one of our newest partners at BellyUpSports, SeatGeek. Yeah, live sports is great on television, but the feeling of being at the arena is a priceless experience. That's why our friends at SeatGeek are there to help you find the best tickets at the best prices. Not only can you get tickets to sporting events, but you can also get tickets to concerts, comedy shows, musicals, and more. Search for your desired event now at SeatGeek.com, enter promo code BellyUpSports at checkout, and you save $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek. Life's an event. We have the tickets.
All right, guys, 3 up, 3 down. And today it's going to be the kits from the Bundesliga. So if you guys aren't fully familiar with what 3 up, 3 down is essentially giving our top 3 and our bottom 3 of a random topic. Even though it used to be a recurring closing segment, we decided to, just because it's been, a few episodes have been just me, have kind of moved away from it for a while. But maybe whenever Edward comes back, or we'll try to bring back that segment. But all in all, obviously whenever the season starts, we always like to have do the 3 up, 3 down on all the kits. So obviously last week we did Ligue 1. So now we're going to do the Bundesliga. And so let's get started, man. So we're going to start with the 3 down. And my number 3 is going to Werder Bremen, and it's their away kit. This is just, I think it would be one of my favorite kits, but it just looks like it's been out in the sun for too long. So it looks just worn. And that's coming off of a new kit, and so not a great look. It could have been better. I think if you're gonna do white or some sort of off white, that green color has to like pop a little more, and that green kind of just feels camouflaged into a very dull, like the dull color just meshes into the other dullness of the white. So yeah, it's to me not a great look, but it's not the worst kit. And my number 2 is Wolfsburg's home kit, and they have 2 versions of their home kit. Obviously, if you guys know, their sponsor is Volkswagen. Their jersey sponsor is Volkswagen, and I guess their second home kit is Golf. Obviously, the Volkswagen Golf. But yeah, I know Werder Bremen is known for having these bright lime green jerseys, and I tend to usually love them. But this is not it. This is too much green. And it's crazy to think that there's like already 2 green jerseys in here. I would normally like these green kits, but yeah, I'm not a fan of this one. This was a big miss. Put some white, put some black in the accents, yeah, this is just a rough one for Wolfsburg for me. And my number 1, the worst kit, is Hoffenheim's third kit. This, honestly, I would have put Wolfsburg as my worst kit, but as soon as I saw Hoffenheim's third kit, this was pure vomit. I like the design, but I just don't like anything else of it. This is just grotesque. Honestly, I think of sewage when I look at this kit, and that can't be good by any means. So that's my number 1. My worst kit for this season is Hoffenheim's third kit. It makes me think of puke, and that's not a good thing. But no, that is my 3 down. My 3 up, I'm going to kick things off with FC Augsburg's third kit. This is class to me. The maroon with the gold, you got the badge that kind of matches the color scheme. Mizuno, you know what, man? Hats off, man. This is a nice kit. I like it. I would honestly I would probably cop this kit, honestly. So very solid kit. I love it. My number 2 is Borussia Mönchengladbach's home. I tend to be a sucker for Borussia Mönchengladbach's kits. I think their color scheme is a really fun one. You got the white and black in their badge, but obviously that green just pops for me. This is how you do a green kit. Well, not a green kit, but this is how you incorporate green in a kit. But obviously Mönchengladbach, they're known for having white kits. Probably that's where my bias comes from, being a Madrista. But I love this kit. It is nice. It is clean. And even where the badge placement and the shirt logo where they are at, I think it even works with the kit. Even the blank space with a sponsor, it works for me too. This is to me clean as it gets. And my number one kit, my favorite kit this season, is Borussia Dortmund's third kit. You guys know it. I love white kits. You guys know I'm a sucker for a white kit. But when you give me that collar, man, it is clean as it gets, man. That white out Borussia Dortmund badge. This is clean. The yellow, like I guess the little sleeve on the black and yellow sleeve. This is just clean. I love it. This is my favorite kit. I know some people would have thought I would have picked Bayern Munich's third, but I feel like I've just seen this version way too many times at this point. And obviously Adidas bringing back the three leaves logo is cool and all, but there's certain jerseys that just hit better with it, and it's not that. But yeah, that is my 3 up, 3 down, and we'll go ahead and segue on to the conclusion of this episode. All right, that is the Bundesliga Kits, 3 up, 3 down. Next week we'll have Serie A. We're gonna have it won't be me doing the 3 up, 3 down this time. We're gonna have a voice. Someone we're bringing in a friend. We're calling a friend in to do the Serie A Kits. So be ready for that. I'm super excited for that one. But yes, shout out to BellyUpSports, man. BellyUpSports, amazing website, great articles constantly being written on that site, man, for all things sports in the U.S., whether it's American football. NFL's back, baby. So shout out to my Texans for getting the first win of the season. Hopefully they can do it again on Sunday night against the Chicago Bears. But yeah, talk about NFL college football is back as well. You know, covering MLB, definitely going into the home stretch right now in the MLB. So playoffs are in the loom. So also check out what's being written there. Lots of articles being written. Also, soccer's going on. There is soccer writing going on for BellyUpSports, man. So check them out, BellyUpSports.com. Follow them on Instagram and X at BellyUpSports and at BellyUpMedia. Also, so you know about all the other great podcasts that they have there on BellyUpSports, like myself, Insert Name FC, High Low Sports with Kelsey Coyne and DJ Stewart, Jared and the gang over at Corner Booth Pod, Mr. Ryan McCarthy at No Credentials Required. Lots of great podcasts, too many to name them, but go ahead and check out. They're doing some great stuff over there at BellyUpSports. Also, check out GolzTV, man. Golz.tv, GOLZ.tv, man. Lots of great soccer content over there for you from the US of A and some overseas content as well. You can find me on some of their original programming like Wake Up MLS and Yanks the Roundtable whenever I find the time to. But check them out, man. GOLZ.tv. Follow them on Instagram at GOLZ.tv and on the X at GOLZ_TV. So you're in the know of what's going on over there at GolzTV. Lots of great interaction stuff over there at GolzTV. But yep, and of course, shout out to Roosevelt Spencer, the namesake of the Roosevelt Spencer's Player of the Year award. He is very crucial to us. We love Spencer. He does so much for us. That's why we named the award after him. If you guys need some beat work done, hit him up. Find him on Instagram at ThatGuyDope. Once again, at ThatGuyDope. If you guys need some beats, hit him up. He'll take great care of you like he always does with us. That all being said, man, thank you so much for listening to episode 186. Shout out to Moussa, man. Thank you for coming on, man. Check him out, Mo Football TV. Great content, man. Lots of great interviews. Check out what he's doing with that St. Louis High School Champions League, man. That's some cool stuff that's going on over there. But yeah, check out Mo Football. And but yeah, so thank you so much for listening to episode 186. Catch us next week for episode 187. The leagues are back. They're back. International break's over. We're back to more talking on the beautiful game. So take care, guys.